Yo, have you ever had one of those clients that just slept on you, like they were hiding all of their talents and you had to peel back the layers of the onion and voila? Oh my goodness, they're just this amazing soul that you can't live without. That was this family that I got to work with back in February of 2019. If you've ever wondered what's really going on behind the scenes in a real estate transaction, you're in the right place. Whether it's the nail biting negotiations, the crazy twists and turns throughout a transaction, or the moments that just make you want to pull your hair out, it's all going to be shared. I'm Brittney Frye, and I am the host of the Closing Chapters podcast. Here, we are going to talk about my career transaction by transaction since 2016. And we're also going to go through all of the golden nuggets that I've learned along the way that I would love to share with you. I want to shape your reality in real estate to a world that you can be confident, educated, and make really wonderful decisions for your financial future and build a real estate portfolio. No matter if you are a real estate investor, a first-time home buyer, or a luxury buyer, there's something to be had in this podcast. You're going to see it throughout the series that military is really my heart. That is my niche, and if you are a military buyer or seller, you will thrive listening to this podcast. So grab a seat at the closing table and let's close some chapters. Honestly, we started working together before Christmas time. So I was introduced to this couple, and they were coming with the new UAV units coming to Shaw Air Force Base. It was really cool because this whole new unit was standing up at the base, and I got to work with one after another after the other. I worked with one and somebody else said, "Oh, my buddy's coming. He's in the next phase. He'll be here." And so I got to work with 5 or 6 families all in the same unit back to back in a very short time frame. And it was you were either an officer and you were one of the pilots for these UAVs, or they were enlisted and they're the sensor operators, which is really cool. If you ever talk to one of the sensor operators, you're going to hear them say, "Yeah, I'm not the pilot. I'm just the sensor operator. I just do the camera." Just, friend, you are so important. You are the eyes of the mission. You are such a vital role, and they cannot do it without you. And I really feel like within the unit, it is an equal. Everybody is important. Everybody has a job. And man, I have worked with several of them. I'm actually working with another one right now, and they diminish themselves so much. And I just want to be like, you are the best. Like, your job is so important. And please don't forget that. So this was one of those moments where it's like Mr. Humble, and he's so cool and calm and collected. And he was teaching this to guys. And I'm like, you have a really important job here, right? And the owl doesn't fall far from the tree. Wife, like husband, he was so humble and kind and just kind of snuck in there and was like, "Yeah, this is what I do, whatever." And the wife is the same way. So I knew she was a school teacher in Texas, and that's about all that I knew about her. And when we got to know each other better, not only was she hilarious, she's a phenomenal school teacher. She can cook her little butt off, and she is an amazing baker. And there is so much more to that. It was just like, what? Why do we play so small? And you are so amazing. And spoiler alert, she stopped playing small. She opened the doors and started some really cool things and was so successful with her time in South Carolina. This family has now moved to California with the military, but I had the honor of helping them buy in 2019. And then I also helped them sell before they moved to the other side of the world, to the West Coast. During our process, they were a little bit frazzle dazzled, right? They were in Texas. She was in Texas. He was not in Texas at the time. So they are not together. They're trying to come together and figure out where they want to live in South Carolina and have a house ready for them when they arrive, because they have 2 pups and trying to stay in lodging or temporary housing or hotels with pups is hard. And one of them was a little bit older, and he just did not have really good little hips and knees, and they wanted it to be as easy as possible for him. God bless them for doing that. So we got to work, and it was very much so 21 questions. Like, "Hey, I've never done this before. Just know that I'm going to be all over the place. And if you can keep up with me, please. And I apologize in advance." I'm like, "I got you." I love that. Like, it's boom. And I like catching each part of it and saying, all right, let's put it together. Let's make a plan. And holding the three conversations at once. Honestly, it was really fun for me. I was like, let's go. So we ended up finding them in a phenomenal little house in Foxcroft, right across from the high school. And it was a great spot. Interestingly enough, she ended up teaching in a different town about an hour away. Happened to be the town that I like kind of claim in South Carolina and grew up in during the summers and throughout college. So it was really cool. We had that special connection and got to talk about that a lot because I knew exactly where she was and kind of what she was dealing with. So it was fun to connect that way. But we found a really nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath brick rancher house at the time for $175,000. And now that's unheard of. I just sold a house in that neighborhood recently, pretty darn similar, for $250,000. So the times have changed, and the idea of getting into a decent neighborhood and a decent house under $200,000 in Sumter, South Carolina is pretty much long gone. So what a beautiful opportunity they had to get into a house at a reasonable price point. And it was a really nice little split floor plan. I loved the layout and it had a dining room up front with a kitchen and the eat-in kitchen behind, separate living room, hallway with 2 bedrooms, and then behind the garage and the kitchen was the primary suite. And they had no backyard neighbors, kind of, they did. It was like a field. So they had horsey neighbors that would come up and visit them, which was super cool. And it was perfect. They just were easy to get in and out of the neighborhood. They can zip and zoom and go wherever they needed to. And it just suited them well. And later on, they got to bring home their first little babe in this house. And that was so cool. The hard part is that they already knew that they were in the process of going out the door. She was at the end of her pregnancy, and we were pregnant at the same time. I was pregnant with my second. So when I'm meeting them, the husband is just trying so hard to cater to the both of us and see if we need anything because we were both heavily pregnant women talking about houses and selling and plans and everything. And I think he just felt like he was supposed to do something. And he was so kind and sweet. But we had such a great connection through that. And we still connect through our kids and talk about the different phases. Her kiddo was born in June and mine was born in September. So we get to follow each other around with that. And then, of course, she'll ask me experiences from my first. So I love it when I have a client that like becomes a friend and we stay in touch. And this house honestly just did everything they needed it to, which was super, super cool. They also had family that visited a lot. But when I tell you, like, these are hidden gem kind of people, the first year that we were here with them, they bought in February. So July 4th, they invited us over for dinner, which was so nice. And we were actually going to cook out at one of the guys in my husband's unit, his house, which happened to be in the neighborhood across the street. So it was awesome. We just were like making little stops every step of the way. And we had an amazing dinner with them. And it was like home cooked Southern cooking. And this is amazing. You never told me you cooked. She was like, I do, but I don't. I really bake. And I was like, okay. So you're a phenomenal cook, but you think if this is not great, then what is your baking like? And her baking was phenomenal, you guys. Phenomenal. And if you know me well, you know that I am a special cookie where I am supposed to be gluten-free and dairy-free. I'm sensitive to eggs, just the works. So I can handle a little bit of things, but not a lot of bit of things every once in a while. And through her time there, she perfected gluten-free, dairy-free, everything. And it was just amazing. She would send her husband to my office with like dozens of goodies just to drop off and say hi and thank you, which what could you ask for better than that? And she knew my restrictions and always made sure that whatever was there was something that was safe for me to eat. And that was so kind and thoughtful. But when I tell you she opened up the doors and ended up making it work for her, it was just her and her husband the majority of the time that they were there. When they had the baby, it was when they were getting ready to move. So while they were there, they didn't really need a dining room. They had their eat-in kitchen. That's where their table sat. So she turned it into a business. And let me tell you guys, she was known in Sumter for this business. She took that dining room and set up the tables and started doing little classes, just teaching people how to decorate cookies. That's how it started. She would make sugar cookies and they would come over and decorate them. And then it was decorating cupcakes. And then it evolved how to make them, how to bake them. And she was selling them. And it was awesome. She would do all kinds of custom cookies for clients. And there were several realtors in the area that were utilizing her. And I passed her along. I didn't really want to. I wanted her to be my own hidden little secret. But when somebody's that good, you can't like not put them up on a pedestal. So anytime that somebody was asking for someone to make baked goods, that was my gal. And I was like, you don't need to go anywhere else. Jessica has your. And she was simply amazing. So when she left, I think there were a lot of realtors that were very sad because we all had to find different people to make our custom goodies for our clients. But it's so amazing to see that somebody with a small vision can make something so grateful happen. And when I mean grateful, she had a community. The ladies that came over to her house and did these classes with her, they loved her and they loved getting together and getting to do this as a community. And so often in military communities, we don't have an outlet. We don't have something to do for ourselves. It's just taking care of our house and our kiddos and run of the mill a day, like running from this place to that place. We don't ever create hobbies or really dive into relationships because it's always like that 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door mentality. So I love that she took the opportunity to create community and do it with something so fun and practical that we all typically do. Everybody typically bakes at some point in time or needs to have goodies or wants to make something yummy. So it was just such a cool full circle experience. And when I would do client events, we would get goodies from her too. And they were like, y'all, she was so over the top. I would order brownies and they would be like an inch thick or more. They were huge and everybody loved them. Macaroons was her specialty. So she would always make macaroons for everybody. And she was just the bomb.com. So it is so cool. Whenever you get to work with a client and they truly become a friend and they just evolve and you just watch them flourish. Like you're sitting in the corner, like the cheerleader, like, that's my girl. Look what she's doing. And he leveled up too. He was putting on rank. He was teaching the classes. He ended up moving because he was putting on rank and teaching the classes. Sometimes that stuff's kind of hard where it's like, hey, I would have rather sat still. But if your career is moving for you, sometimes you take that and run with it. And I'm so glad that they had that opportunity, right? So this is just one for the books. This is one of my people that I will never forget and I'll always be in touch with. And I am so glad that I had the opportunity to work with her, not once, but twice. And let me tell you guys, the people that will tell you up front, I think I'm going to be difficult. I don't know what I'm doing and I've got a lot of questions and I'm sorry if I'm hard to work with. Those are your gems. I'm telling you right now. If they know or they think they're going to be difficult, more than likely they are more qualified, more ahead of the game, know exactly what they want. And they're actually 3 steps ahead because they're already thinking of questions. They already want to know the process. And every time just about that has happened to me, they've just been drop dead amazing clients. And this is a perfect example of that. Not only did she actually like really nail in and they made a decision really fast. She was like, I'm afraid I'm going to be all over the place. I don't know how I'm going to decide. I don't know what we want. Like it was just very much so, I've got this question and that question. And where do I go from here? And then boom, we nailed it and we were done. And she was like, I really thought that was going to be a lot harder than it was. And it was just beautiful. So once people have that experience once, then they know they can do it. They know what's possible. And I think sometimes it was a really good reminder that we take so much from the outside world when other people say home ownership is so difficult. It's so hard. Buying a house, the process is so stressful, right? We are automatically revving ourselves up and like preparing ourselves for this turmoil of this horrible experience of trying to find a house to live in. And it's just going to be absolutely awful and dragging me along and it's just not. If you're ready, if you want to buy a house, right? I can't say that it's not going to be stressful. There will be some points of stress, but overall, the experience can be really fun and enjoyable. This is like a puzzle. We're on an adventure. We get to pull out our magnifying glass and say, ooh, do I like this? Do I like that? What's wrong here? Is this good? Is this bad? It's so individualized and unique to each person. And you get the opportunity to decide where you want to be. And I know that sounds like a lot of responsibility, but the reality is that a home is a product. Okay. Take that house and make it into a home. But at the end of the day, that property is a product, just like a car that can be bought and sold. So, heaven forbid you got in the door and you said, you know what, this is not where I want it to be. I have learned that I like this other area better. Then you regroup in a couple of years. You make a plan. Hello, generational wealth. Can we turn this property into a rental and then upgrade to another property on the other side of town where I want to be? There's so many options. But when we start talking about all of this, then it just brings down the anxiety level when you realize, okay, I'm only going to be here for a couple of years. As long as I'm safe and sound and I can get to where I need to go, then I'm probably going to be okay. And I really don't think I've ever had a client that just says, oh my gosh, I made the biggest mistake buying this house. Honestly, I've never had anybody tell me that. So I hope that stays true because we all sometimes have a little bit of buyer's remorse or guilt at some point in time. There's always going to be hard days, but overall, everybody has always gotten out from underneath their house. It's always been a good experience. And we've gotten through the hardships. And I'm always going to be here to be that person to lean into. So if you need me, I'm only a phone call away. But I just want to tell you, when you're working with your realtor, just friendly reminder, if you are a special cookie, like if you have these hidden gems, please don't hide them from us. We want to know because one, we want to be your friend, and two, we want to support you. And if you know how to bake or cook, I want to enjoy that. Please and thank you. So I'm just here to say, realtors are not just here for the transaction. This is just another great example of how we are here to build relationships and to stay in touch and to really grow and thrive with you. So I hope this is encouraging that when you go to look for your next realtor, remember this could be your next bestie. And if you have some hidden talent or you're trying to start a business, don't keep it a secret. Let us know. We are walking, talking billboards just the same as we expect our clients and past referral partners to be. I always give my husband so much gratitude that he's my walking, talking billboard. If anybody talks about real estate, you better believe he's going to bring me up. But it's the same thing for us. If we hear somebody say something and we know a guy, oh my goodness, we cannot keep it in. We love passing people around. We want everyone to succeed and we want to be that support system. So don't be hiding, people. If you've got a special skill, let your realtor know because we want to love on you and support you any way we can.